Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Sarah Alspaugh, and I will be your webinar producer coming to you from Cincinnati, Ohio, here in the U.S. I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar. Our topic, how to grow your startup for long-term success. And I would like to welcome and introduce our speakers today. With us, we have John Fox and Phil Vinson. John Fox is Vice President of Marketing at Siemens PLM Software. With previous roles at PTC and Accenture, he has more than 20 years of experience helping companies of all sizes, including startups, develop better products faster and more efficiently with the help of technology. John has a master's degree in business administration from the Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania, as well as a master's degree in electrical engineering from the University of Pennsylvania. And we also have Phil Vinson with us today. Phil is an artist and educator working in glass and metal. Phil began his career in 1994 at Tyler School of Art. Since then, Phil's career path has been a winding one, working as a glassblower, blacksmith, industrial designer, project manager, studio technician, and instructor. Phil has traveled extensively teaching workshops and giving demonstrations on mold blowing and fabricating techniques at locations nationwide and internationally. In 2015, Phil co-founded Mobile Glassblowing Studios, LLC, a manufacturer of small-scale and portable glassblowing equipment in Americus, Georgia, with Chuck Wells. We're very excited to have both of you with us here today. I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you first, John.
Thanks, Sarah. All right, and thanks everyone for attending this webinar, How to Grow Your Startup for Long-Term Success. As Sarah mentioned, Siemens, we provide software and services that help manufacturers manage the product lifecycle process. And we work with very large enterprises, small and mid-sized manufacturers, and also early-stage startups, and that's what we're here to talk about today. In fact, one of the most rewarding parts of my job, and I think I speak for my whole team, is when we get to work with startups, bringing advanced technologies to some of the most interesting and really innovative new companies out there. We have a great example here on this call. We even offer software downloads and learning resources free to qualified startups, and I'll be providing some more information on that later on in the presentation. So why are startups so important? They may be small companies, but they really play a significant role in economic growth and in driving innovation and new product breakthroughs. A few years ago, GEM, and that's Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, the world's foremost study of entrepreneurship, it came out with this really astounding statistic. More than 100 million startups are launched every year, and that equates to about 3 startups per second. So clearly, a lot of companies are getting started out there. But the question is, how many survive? How many make it past year 1 or 2 or 3 or beyond? Well, here's part of the answer. They don't all survive. So the data shows, and these curves happen to be from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, data shows that about 80% of startups survive 1 year. Looking at 2 years, about 70% survive. And if you go out 5 years or longer, starting at 5 years, only 50% survive. So the curves I'm showing here reflect aggregate data, and if you look industry by industry, the curves are slightly different, but the pattern's basically the same. Now, for hardware startups, it's a particularly challenging curve. And I see, as I look at the audience members here today, most of you are associated with companies that design and make things, either for your own company or maybe as an engineering service provider. Others, maybe you're just considering launching this type of company. So as a hardware startup, you face really unique set of business challenges. And ironically, the challenges really begin to kick in when you start selling your products, when you start to scale up. But the good news is, and this is what we're going to be talking about during this webinar, is there are specific things you can do in the early years, in years 1, 2, and 3, that can set you up for success in the long term. And we're going to hear some specific actionable steps that you can take from Phil Vincent, who's coming up next. And he's running a successful business, and his company is approaching that critical 5-year point and still really going strong. So here's a picture of a product from one of the startups we work with, a really cool product. The company is called RoboSynthesis. They design and make robust modular robotic delivery platforms, and this is an example. RoboSynthesis understands, and this is really one of the key traits of all successful startups, that from day one they understand that the company is more than just a great idea. It's even more than a great product design. It's about the product, but it's also about all the business processes that support it over its life cycle. It's about the business plan. It's about the people, the team, the resources like cash flow, very important to a hardware company, and access to engineering tools. And also another scarce resource, your time and attention. So we're going to be talking about that. I have a few examples here on the slide that you can look through. Scarce resources, that's a recurring theme. Our research really bears this out. We periodically survey startups in the engineering and manufacturing space, and here's some of our recent stats. The top challenges that these kinds of startups face. It's really universal challenges when you're moving from a business plan to reality. So the first one you see, the top challenge is 55% is around these limited resources. And that really means like you're trying to find a balance between what we need and what we can afford. Cash flow is so important for things like tooling, inventory, information technology. And in the first few years, your economies of scale probably haven't really kicked in, right? Because you haven't moved up to full production. Second one, 51%, learning new skills. And here, this could include, engineering skills, but more likely, our survey respondents are talking about sales skills, marketing skills, finance, all the things that are needed to create a successful business. Then the last one, 38%, managing work-life balance. We all struggle with this, but with startups, it's particularly difficult. I know Phil has some comments on how to manage that. So the good news is, even smallest companies can make the most of limited resources by what we call digitalizing core business processes. In fact, harnessing the power of digital transformation is a top priority for SMBs. IDC recently conducted a survey of hundreds of SMBs and startups around the world. And some of the top-level stats I have here might be surprising. So these SMB companies, and the survey included all the way down to the one-third of the cohort was 100 employees or less. So all the way down to one-person startups were included in the survey. The data shows that 90% are allocating budgets for digital transformation. 50% have dedicated staff for digital transformation. And why are they doing this? One of the big reasons is and 46% report, these technologies enable them to better compete with larger incumbents and, in effect, leveling the playing field and enabling them to disrupt their industries. So delving just a bit deeper, when it comes to digital transformation, IDC asked, what are your goals? Why are you doing this? And a full 50% cited as their top reasons improving product development and design processes. And as a hardware startup or a design services firm, this is really your mission critical process. So digitizing more and more of this process from concept through delivery, that's going to allow your company to move faster, be more flexible, and exploit new market opportunities. And maybe even disrupt your industry. And that's the role you're playing. As a downstream effect, more efficient processes, particularly in product development, right, create space to focus on other areas of the business, like sales and marketing, or finance and accounting. Also allows room for maybe more work-life balance at the same time. So just a quick survey of some of the recent trends and stats among startups. But now we have a really great example of a company putting some of these ideas into practice to create a successful business. So I'd like to introduce Phil Vincent, co-founder of Mobile Glassblowing Studios. Phil and his partner, Chuck Wells, launched the company with a vision of creating an affordable mobile glassblowing furnace that could be used by artisans, teachers, hobbyists, wherever they needed to be. And really, in 4 short years, his startup has gone from a backyard workshop, as you'll see, to a booming small business shipping products globally. And it's got some customers in India. And in the process, they're transforming a centuries-old industry by making glass-blowing tools accessible to people everywhere. So a common theme among startups, causing this type of disruption and finding success doing it. So Phil's here to share the lessons he's learned along the way, and as well as some actionable advice on how to grow your startup business. So take it away, Phil.
Well, thanks very much for that introduction, John. So my name is Phil Vincent. I am, as you said, one of the founding partners of Mobile Glassblowing Studios. We're based in southern Georgia, and we build these little furnaces. We call them dragons, as well as many of the accessories that go along with it. Thanks, everybody, for being here and taking the time out of your day to hear what we have to say. And it's quite an honor for me. So I founded this company with in 2015 with Chuck Wells, who's on the left there on the slide. We're both sculptors, educators, and glass artists here in Southwest Georgia. So we're committed to providing all of those with an interest in glass blowing with an affordable, simple way to experience hot glass in a wide range of environments. So using these furnaces, we've been able to bring the world of hot glass to audiences who might have never experienced this amazing process otherwise, spreading an appreciation for how things are made to venues not traditionally thought of as art markets. We've developed these furnaces and equipment with accessibility in mind, not just for artists, but for the public as well. They're inexpensive, low buy-in, low overhead, easy to maintain, and you have the ability to transport your studio. It opens up a lot of new business possibilities, and it changes the way that we are all thinking about glass production. And to put this into a little bit of context, before we started building these furnaces, the traditional way of going about this was to have multiple large pieces of equipment permanently set into a space, all plumbed in, a lot of infrastructure. You were talking about $100,000 to $150,000 of investment to start a glass studio. Well, you can do that for under $20,000 with our equipment, and even as low as about $10,000, you can have a functioning studio. So we really upended kind of what's been out there on the market. So this is the original factory. It was in my partner's backyard. We had a team of 4 people. It was Chuck, myself, and his 2 sons, who are still with us. This is a 12 by 32-foot building, and we ran 100-foot extension cords from his house out to the backyard so we could run the welders. And we blew through quite a few breakers that first summer. You know, we'd be welding away, and the air conditioner would kick on, and next thing you know, all the electricity would go off, and we have to run up to the house and flip the breaker. And it was a really cramped space. We'd have to move one project out of the way just to work on another project. So it quickly moved out and spread out into his yard. So we knew we had to look for a new place. And this is our current factory. We moved in at the end of our first year, and we found this beautiful 7,000 square foot facility right on the edge of downtown in our little town of 17,000 people. Now, our staff has fluctuated to as many as 14, and we've gone back down to a crew of about 8. And our electrical situation is very much improved over what it used to be. So in this presentation, I plan on discussing kind of what I view as success and some of the best practices that I've observed in my experience that can increase your ability to succeed. So these are my stages of success. What is success? It's not really one thing, but rather it's a moving target. So for me, success can be divided into these 5 stages. There's survival, ego, social impact, work-life balance, and then long-term financial stability. So the first stage really is the survival. And this is the main goal when you start your business. Surviving past the first year is a huge success. And then, of course, surviving every year is a huge success. The second stage I've labeled as the ego. Now, this is really about being recognized by others in your field, including the consumers, the competitors, and scholars. And a way to know that you've achieved this level of success is when you're invited to participate in events. Now, for us, a great example was this year. We were invited to do several events with the Glass Art Society conference. So we were invited to give a lecture, which is one of the highest honors in the glass art community for me. I never imagined that I would be giving a lecture at the Glass Art Society conference. Additionally, we were asked to demonstrate a new product, which provided us with a ton of exposure. And lastly, we had a technical booth at the conference where we were able to show off our products to all the attendees. So related to this ego is the next stage of success is the social impact. So once you're recognized as a member of, a stand-up member of your community, it's important to maintain an active role and to use this new status to move forward with your company's social missions. For us, this includes creating opportunities for a broader audience to be exposed to the glass-making process, both locally, nationwide, and internationally. So we have done this by working with our local community to help create and sponsor festivals and events, such as a monthly Downtown First Friday and our annual Hot Glass Craft Beer Festival, which is now in its 4th year. Now, the last 2 stages on this slide are where we currently are, the work-life balance and the long-term financial stability. So these 2 stages kind of work together and are both ongoing processes. In the first couple of years of your startup, you don't have much work-life balance, which I'll touch on later. However, once you have the other 3 earlier successes, the survival, ego, and social impact, and those experiences, you can leverage those successes to achieve your work-life balance and go after that long-term financial stability. So now that we've talked about the different types of successes, I'll talk about some of the practices I believe have helped our company. Well, I will go into more detail. Here we have a brief summary of the best practices to succeed. Knowing your target market, which will help you create a good product and a plan of action. This plan of action will include a marketing strategy. I also feel it is very important to foster a good reputation and relations with your clients. Other good practices are keeping detailed records, delegating and relinquishing control, and establishing a business mindset. While it is also one of the stages of success, one of the best practices is having an awareness of your current work-life balance. And lastly, embracing technology to achieve your goals. So good product matched to the market. Our products were developed to solve a particular problem we came across. In our case, affordable access to hot glass. Because we understand our market audience and the difficulties they may face, when they see our product, they can see how our furnaces would improve their situation. We also tried to design a product as a beautiful object, to become an icon, where the design and the name, the Dragon Furnace, would become the standard that others entering the market would be held to. In a sense, the dragons have become an object of envy and of inspiration to many in the art glass field who do not already have a studio, and many who already have a studio. We entered the market fast with an aggressive marketing strategy. We gave away hundreds of t-shirts and made deals to get furnaces in the hands of key artists. From that, we were able to capitalize on the exposure these people gave us. Now, the t-shirts sound like a trivial thing, but they show up everywhere. Social media, YouTube videos, Someone has shown up in one of our shirts in just about every hot shop in the country, and it always starts a conversation about the Dragons. So for your startup, think about what piece of marketing would be best for you, where you would be able to reach the most people with the lowest cost. For us, it was T-shirts, because all glassblowers need a good cotton shirt for the hot shop. But maybe your audience would be better reached with stickers or koozies. Now, good relationship with the market is also important. We have worked very hard to establish and maintain a good reputation. Making a quality product and providing top-notch customer service has gone a long way. We're also willing to take a loss and admit mistakes. Doing so proactively and openly is the best way to maintain the level of customer trust. This trust and relationship with the community benefits us in the long term, particularly through new product development. So when we have a new product that has reached the proof of concept stage, we reach out to people we think would be a good fit and ask if they would like to purchase it at cost. In this way, we've been able to finance prototype development. So for your startup, think about influencers you can build relationships with and what that partnership might look like. For example, we have a great client, Grant Germesi, who is very active on Instagram and also in the glassblowing lecture and demo circuit. So whenever he posts about his own business, he includes some key hashtags that include our branding. We then in turn repost his posts, which not only brings attention to his business, but also shows real-world examples of how our products can be used. Keeping records. Now, keeping up-to-date, accurate records is critical in all stages of business development. These records include tracking labor and material costs and design updates and the like. So we record and document all of our processes, both in the office and in the warehouse. This enables us to create a system that can be repeated and reduce errors. We also document each piece of equipment that goes through our factory. This includes both physical and electronic records of the customer's order, photographs of the final piece before crating, and electronic copies of communications. All of these records help with consistency, quality control, and anything that may come up in the field later on. By keeping records, you can also keep track of your growth and adjust things when you reflect on past performance of your company. For example, we can look at our numbers and see where we might need to make changes to ensure new company growth. An early decision we made, which relates to the next point, was hiring a bookkeeper. 1 year into our business, I read a book called Accounting for Non-Accountants while I was on a flight out to California and back. I immediately got back, met with our team, and we decided to hire a bookkeeper. And with that bookkeeper, we have weekly meetings and daily conversations using all the records to adjust course on the fly as necessary. Delegation and work-life balance. Now, this is one of the hardest and longest processes that I have found, is learning to let go and delegate tasks. However, not only is it an important skill to develop to ensure the vitality of your business, it is necessary if you hope to achieve any work-life balance. The first few years of business, the work-life balance is almost impossible. You are constantly on to make sure that your business survives. However, you must identify and recognize your own strengths and weaknesses and get a team that can support you and your businesses. We started off as a partnership and almost immediately became a team of 4 people, and now we're up to 8. Once you have that staff of reliable people, you don't have to micromanage, which frees you up to focus on other things, including your work-life balance. Having a business partner helps a lot because they can share some of the load of the business that seeps into the weekends and your personal hours. The most successful delegations happen with a workforce that is invested in their work. A great way to ensure this is to create and maintain a space for open dialogue and honest feedback. We do this by having weekly staff meetings where we establish what is expected of each person. There's space to present any challenges, needs, or solutions that anyone might have. In addition to these staff meetings, I maintain an open door policy. There is literally no door on my office. So as concerns come up, they can be addressed. This open dialogue creates not only an opportunity to improve work processes or our products, but also allows the employees to maintain ownership of their actions, which in turn increases their pride in their work and creates better outcomes. So for startups, think about how you can improve your self-awareness and your communication with your employees and become more active listeners. Also, ask for honest feedback and be open to taking it. The vital piece weaving through many of these best practices is technology. Early on, I realized that having all of our data in a centralized location so that we're all working on the same files and information would be critical to keeping track of things as we grow. The trick really has been developing the system in which the data is stored in a logical way that is best for retrieving that data. For example, photos are organized by the subject of the photo. Customer files are by the job number and the name, whereas staff meeting minutes might be organized by the date of the meeting, which all helps when you go back and you're trying to find a piece of information if you have a very logical, established way that's documented on how your filing system works. So all of our data is backed up off-site in 2 separate locations daily, because nothing is worse than losing a day's work because you forgot to back it up. Now, Solid Edge has been critical in our growth and efficiency. It allows us to go from a napkin sketch to a working prototype very quickly. Our most recent product release, which you can actually see the model in this slide, it's called the Phoenix Furnace. We had a conversation about that. It was a napkin sketch, and in 2 weeks, we were blowing glass out of it. We were able to develop all the metalwork, all the molds, all the castings, everything very rapidly, because we have a catalog of parts and subassemblies that we use through all of our products. So we could just bring those over, kind of slap them all together, and we could build this new furnace. So it really has helped us to develop good drawing sets for the factory floor, and then we update them on the fly. And the updates are in real time. So if we run into an issue on the drawings out on the floor, we can come right in to the office, work on the drawing, print a new one, go back out. It's really helped us to refine the drawing sets painlessly. And it's also allowed us to achieve repeatable results from build to build with less reliance on memory and random notes. I like to say we used to be standing around the campfire telling stories, and that's how we remembered how to build things. Well, now we actually, have a book that shows us how to build things. And we also use a cloud accounting software that allows me to look up any detail in our financial records from anywhere. And I can generate detailed reports regarding any of our financial data, which is crucial to understanding what is really going on in business. And all of these strategies have worked out really well for us so far. To date, we've sold over 150 furnaces in the U.S. and across the world in over a dozen different countries, including India, Norway, New Zealand, and Kuwait. It's been quite a trip, and thank you very much for the opportunity to share what I have learned. So now back to you, John.
All right, thank you, Phil. So what are the takeaways? I presented a lot of research and some things going on in the industry. Phil gave a great personal story and the story of the success of his business. It's so many tips in there, Phil. Thanks for that. It's really hard to kind of boil it down to 4 takeaways, but here, I'll give it a shot. Number 1, don't skimp on tools and processes that are core to your business. You may save money in the short term, but you'll suffer from rework and lost time as you try to scale upward with insufficient tools. So Phil gave a great example of that with the modeling software, Solid Edge. Second, focus on what you know. Don't try to learn key areas like for example, marketing, although Phil clearly has some strengths in marketing. I think you got it covered there. Or finance. Don't try to do these things on the fly. Find an expert. Bring in a bookkeeper. Maybe that's your partner. or hiring a freelancer or an employee with complementary strengths in one of these areas. And definitely don't be afraid to delegate. 3, don't think you're too small for digital transformation. The IDC survey certainly supports that. Very small companies are investing heavily in digital transformation for competitive advantage. Digitalize key processes, free up time to do other business critical activities, and in the process, help you achieve some degree of work-life balance. And then finally, I think a key takeaway is startups and small businesses can really be agile and quickly adopt digital technologies. You know, the studies show even more quickly than big, impressive technology companies can do it. And that's your competitive advantage, give you a better position to compete against larger companies and kind of carve out your niche. So as promised, I wanted to leave you with some additional free resources. So Phil mentioned Solid Edge. Siemens offers Solid Edge software. Solid Edge is really a complete portfolio of affordable and powerful product development tools. Everything from mechanical design, electrical design, simulation, manufacturing, data management, and a lot more. Recently, we've introduced the Solid Edge for Startups program, and it's designed to make it very easy for new businesses like mobile glass blowing studios. So if you're a business, you could be designing products or doing engineering services. This program's open to you. You're able to access our premium Solid Edge software and additional resources. We have some things listed here, including online training and community support. So here's the link. To learn more and apply, go to siemens.com/plm/startup. Pretty easy to find. I told you the program's relatively new, but already we have hundreds of startups participating in this program from all over the world. Just a few pictures here of our great participants. And really, it's a real honor to play a role in helping these innovative, really cool companies achieve success. I mentioned that IBC report. Here's a link where you can download a free copy of the full report. It's got tons of interesting stats and insights for startups and small companies looking for the best path to digital transformation, especially when resources are tight, and we know they are. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone for listening, and a big thanks to Phil Vincent. Thank you. Great job. Now I'll hand it back to Sarah. Sarah?
All right. Thank you so much, John and Phil, for your wonderful presentation. And this officially concludes today's webinar. Thanks again for joining us, everyone, and have a great day.